the time the royal council demanded her removal, it was already too late. The kingdom had changed. The people had chosen. And the secret the poor girl had been hiding for 6 months was about to destroy everything the royal family had built over 300 years. She stood before them, this girl from the slums who'd somehow become their queen, and when she finally revealed what she'd been concealing, the entire palace went silent. Because what nobody knew, what even the king hadn't suspected, was that his beloved wife wasn't who anyone thought she was. The truth would either save the kingdom or tear it apart forever. And by the time that morning ended, even the king would have to choose between his throne and the woman he loved. How did a poor girl from the streets end up married to the most powerful man in West Africa? And what secret could she possibly be hiding that would threaten an entire monarchy? To understand this, we need to go back to the night it all began. The night a desperate girl made a choice that would change everything. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comment. The kingdom of Ashanti wasn't like other places. It was a wealthy nation, a rare constitutional monarchy in modern West Africa where an ancient royal family still ruled alongside an elected government. King Kwame III was 35 years old, Harvard-educated, and deeply beloved by his people. He'd modernized the kingdom, brought in technology and investment, but maintained the traditions that made Ashanti unique. He was also required by law to marry before his 36th birthday or forfeit the throne to his cousin, Prince Kofi, a corrupt man who'd been waiting in the wings for years, hoping for exactly this outcome. With 3 months until his birthday, King Kwame still had no queen. He'd met countless suitable women, princesses and daughters of wealthy families, educated and refined. But none of them felt right. None of them saw him as anything more than a crown and a fortune. "You're too romantic," his advisor, Elder Botang, told him one evening. "This isn't about love, it's about securing your throne." "Then what's the point of the throne?" Kwame replied. "If I can't even choose who I spend my life with, what freedom do I really have?" "The freedom to rule, to help your people, isn't that enough?" It wasn't, but Kwame was running out of time. That's when he did something unthinkable. He disguised himself as a common citizen and went into the city alone, walking the streets of the capital, trying to clear his head. And in a poor neighborhood where he should never have been, he saw her. Maya, 28 years old, beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with makeup or expensive clothes. She was teaching a group of street children, scratching lessons in the dirt with a stick, her voice patient and kind as she helped them learn to read. Kwame watched from a distance, captivated. When the lesson ended and the children scattered, he approached her. "You're a teacher?" he asked. She laughed. "Not officially. I never finished school myself, but these kids deserve to learn and no one else will teach them, so I do what I can." "That's remarkable." "It's necessary. There's a difference." She studied him curiously. "You're not from this area. What brings you here?" "I'm lost," he said, which wasn't entirely untrue. "Trying to find my way." They talked for hours. She showed him the neighborhood, introduced him to people, shared her dreams of building a real school for children who couldn't afford education. She had no idea who he was. To her, he was just Kwame, a stranger who listened when she spoke, who seemed genuinely interested in her ideas. For the first time in his life, the king felt truly seen. He returned the next day, and the next, each time in disguise, each time falling deeper. Maya was intelligent, passionate, selfless. She worked 3 jobs, lived in a tiny room, and gave away most of what she earned to help her neighbors. She had nothing but gave everything. "Why do you keep coming back here?" she asked after 2 weeks. "Don't you have your own life to live?" "Maybe I'm starting to think my life is wherever you are." She blushed. "You don't even know me." "I know you're the best person I've ever met. I know you make me want to be better. I know that when I'm with you, everything makes sense." "You talk like a poet." "Or like a man in love." Their relationship deepened. Kwame knew he should tell her the truth, but he was terrified. Would she still see him the same way? Or would everything change? Would she want him for the crown instead of for himself? 2 months before his birthday, Kwame made a decision. He would marry Maya. He'd figure out the rest later. But first, she needed to know who he really was. He took her to the palace one evening, having arranged for a private tour. As they walked through the grand halls, she was awestruck by the beauty, the history, the weight of tradition in every room. "Can you imagine living here?" he asked. "Me? Never. This isn't for people like me." "What if it was? What if you belonged here?" "Quaim, what are you talking about?" He stopped walking, turned to face her. "Maya, I haven't been honest with you. I'm not just a regular person, I'm the king." She finished his sentence and his heart stopped. "I know, I've known for 3 weeks." "You knew? How?" "I saw you on television at a neighbor's house. Recognized you immediately. I couldn't believe it at first. Thought maybe you had a twin. But then I watched how your security follows you from a distance, how people treat you when they recognize you. It wasn't hard to figure out." "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I wanted to see if you'd tell me, if you trusted me enough to be honest. And now that you know." She looked around the palace, then back at him. "Now I'm terrified, because I love you, Quaim, not the king. You, the man who sits in the dirt teaching children, who listens when I talk about my dreams, who makes me laugh. But that man and this," she gestured at the opulent surroundings, "I don't know how they can be the same person." "They are, I promise you they are. Maya, I want to marry you." "That's impossible. You can't marry someone like me. I'm nobody." "You're everything, and I don't care what the council says or what tradition demands. I choose you." "Your people will never accept me." "Then I'll teach them to, just like you taught those children to read, patiently, kindly, until they understand." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "There's something I need to tell you first, something you need to know before you make this choice. Nothing could change how I feel." "This might. Quaim, I'm not just a poor girl from the slums. There's more to my story. Things I haven't told you because I was afraid. But if you want to marry me, you deserve the complete truth." "Then tell me." Maya took a deep breath. "My father was Benjamin Asser. Does that name mean anything to you?" Quaim went very still. "The businessman who was accused of trying to embezzle from the royal treasury 20 years ago. He was innocent, framed by men in your father's government who wanted his contracts. But he was convicted anyway, lost everything, and died in prison when I was 8 years old. My mother died shortly after from grief. I was raised by distant relatives who resented having to care for me." "Maya, I'm so sorry. I had no idea." "There's more. I've spent my whole adult life researching what happened to my father, collecting evidence. And I found proof, Quaim, proof that he was innocent, proof of who actually stole that money." "Who?" "Your uncle, Prince Kofi." The revelation hit like a physical blow. "That's impossible." "I have documents, bank records, testimony from people who were there. Kofi framed my father to cover his own theft, and my father died for it. I've been planning to expose him for years. And now here I am, in love with the king, being asked to become queen of the kingdom that destroyed my family." Quaim sank onto a nearby bench. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because I fell in love with you, because everything got complicated, because I don't know what to do anymore. I came to the capital to get justice for my father. I've been planning to release the evidence to the press. But now, if I do that, it will create a massive scandal for you. The media will say you married me as some kind of admission of guilt, or that I seduced you to get revenge. It will be a disaster. But if you don't expose him, you'll have to live with the man who destroyed your family walking free, maybe even challenging me for the throne." "Exactly. So you see why this is impossible. I can't marry you without telling you the truth, but the truth makes our marriage a political nightmare." Quaim was silent for a long moment, processing. Then he stood, took her hands. "Marry me anyway. We'll figure out the rest together. We expose Kofi, we deal with the fallout, we face it as partners. I'm not letting you go, Maya. Not because of tradition or politics or anything else. I love you. And whatever we have to face, we'll face it together." "You'd risk your throne for this." "I'd risk anything for you." The wedding was announced 2 weeks later and the kingdom exploded. The council was outraged. The nobility was scandalized. How could the king marry a commoner? a poor girl with no family, no connections, no wealth. But the common people loved it. Finally, a queen who understood their struggles, someone who'd lived the life they lived, someone real. The wedding itself was beautiful but tense. Elder Boteng pulled Quaim aside before the ceremony. "Your Majesty, there's still time to reconsider. This girl, we've investigated her background. Her father was a criminal. Her father was innocent, and I'd be very careful what you say about my future wife. The people have a right to know who they're getting as queen. The people will love her, just watch." And they did. Maya walked down the aisle in a simple but elegant dress, and despite the cold stares from the nobility, she held her head high. She'd spent weeks learning royal protocols, studying the kingdom's history, preparing for this role she'd never imagined having. When Quaim placed the crown on her head, making her queen, she looked at him with eyes full of love and fear. She was taking on an impossible task, being queen, carrying the secret of Kofi's crimes, trying to heal the wounds of her past while building a future. The first 3 months were brutal. The royal family barely spoke to her. The council questioned her every decision. The media scrutinized her constantly, looking for mistakes. They called her the slum queen and speculated about why Quaim had really married her. Was she pregnant? Was she blackmailing him? What did she want? But Maya worked tirelessly. She started programs for poor children. She visited villages and listened to people's problems. She was genuine, kind, accessible in a way royal families typically weren't. And slowly, the people started to love her. But privately, she was struggling. The secret about Kofi was eating her alive. She'd compiled all her evidence into a detailed report. It sat in a locked drawer in her private chambers. All she had to do was release it. But she knew what would happen. The scandal would be massive. Kofi would be arrested. But the royal family would be humiliated. Quaim's reign would be tainted by his uncle's corruption. "I don't know what to do," she confessed to Quaim one night. "Every day I don't expose him, I feel like I'm betraying my father. But every day I think about releasing it, I feel like I'm betraying you." "What does your heart tell you?" "My heart is torn in half." "Then let me make the choice with you. We release it together. We face the consequences together." "You'd really do that, even knowing it might cost you everything." "Maya, you are everything. The throne is just a throne." They decided to release the evidence during the next council meeting, making it official and documented. But the night before that meeting, something happened that changed everything again. Prince Kofi came to Maya's private chambers. He shouldn't have been there, couldn't have gotten past security unless he'd bribed someone. But there he was, standing in her doorway with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Queen Maya, how lovely you look this evening." "What are you doing here? This is inappropriate." "I came to have a conversation about your father." Her blood ran cold. "What about my father?" "I know who you are, my dear. I've known since before the wedding. Did you really think I wouldn't investigate the mysterious girl who captured my nephew's heart? I know about Benjamin Assair. I know about your little collection of evidence. And I know you're planning to expose me tomorrow. Get out." "In a moment. But first, I want to make you an offer. You destroy that evidence, you forget about your father's case, and I'll leave you and Quaim alone. You'll be queen, he'll be king, everyone wins. Except my father, who died innocent in prison because of your lies. Your father was weak. He would never have survived in business anyway. I simply expedited the inevitable. You destroyed my family. And now you're part of mine. How deliciously ironic. Maya, dear, think carefully. If you expose me tomorrow, yes, I'll be arrested. But I won't go down alone. I have information about Quaim that would be very damaging. Things he did in his youth, mistakes, indiscretions. I'll drag him through the mud with me. Is your father's vindication worth destroying your husband's reputation? You're bluffing. Am I? Are you willing to risk it? He left, and Maya spent the night in anguish. Was he bluffing? Did he really have damaging information about Quaim? Should she risk it? The next morning, she walked into the council chamber with the evidence folder in her hands. The entire royal council was there. Elder Boteng, Prince Kofi looking smug, and Quaim sitting on his throne looking at her with complete trust. "Your Majesty, members of the council," Maya began, her voice steady despite her shaking hands. "I've called this meeting because I have information about a crime committed 20 years ago, a crime that destroyed an innocent man and his family." Kofi's smile faded. "My father, Benjamin Asser, was falsely accused of embezzlement from the royal treasury. He was convicted and died in prison. I've spent years collecting evidence proving his innocence, and I've discovered who actually committed the crime." She opened the folder, pulled out the first document. "These are bank records showing large transfers to offshore accounts belonging to Prince Kofi." The council erupted. Kofi stood. "This is a lie, a desperate attempt by this girl, too." "I have more," Maya continued calmly. "Testimony from 3 people who worked in the treasury at the time, all willing to testify that Prince Kofi manipulated the records to frame my father." "Where did you get this?" Elder Boteng demanded. "I've been investigating for years, long before I met Quaim. This has nothing to do with my marriage. This is about justice for my father." Kofi laughed bitterly. "You've just destroyed your husband's throne, you realize that. The scandal this will cause will be worth it," Quaim interrupted, standing. "For the truth, for justice. Uncle, if you committed these crimes, you'll answer for them. The throne means nothing if it's built on lies." "You fool," Kofi spat. "She's using you. This was her plan all along. Seduce the king, get close to the family, destroy us from within." "No," Maya said firmly. "I fell in love with Quaim before I knew how to handle this evidence. I struggled with whether to expose you because I knew the damage it would cause. But I realized something. My father died believing in justice, in truth. If I hide this to protect my own comfort, I betray everything he stood for, and I betray the kingdom that deserves honest leadership." She turned to Quaim. "I'm sorry if this costs you your throne, but I have to do what's right." Quaim stepped down from his throne, crossed to her, took her hands. "I'm proud of you. Whatever happens next, I'm proud to be your husband." The council voted unanimously to investigate. Within a week, with the evidence Maya had provided, Kofi was arrested. The case was sensational. The trial lasted months, and in the end, Kofi was convicted. The stolen money was found in his accounts. Benjamin Asser was posthumously exonerated. But the scandal did damage the royal family. There were calls for Quaim to abdicate, suggestions that the monarchy itself should be abolished. For weeks, the kingdom was in turmoil. And then something unexpected happened. The people rallied around Maya and Quaim. Thousands marched in the streets, not calling for the king to step down, but demanding he stay. Because he'd chosen truth over power. Because his wife had sacrificed her own security for justice. Because they'd proven they were different from the corrupt rulers of the past. "They want leaders who choose what's right over what's easy," Elder Boteng told Quaim. "You and your queen have given them that." A year after the scandal, the kingdom had healed. Reforms were put in place. The royal family was more transparent, more accountable, and Maya had become the most beloved queen in the nation's history. She'd built the school she'd dreamed of, right in the neighborhood where she'd once taught children in the dirt. The king himself visited regularly, reading to classes, showing that royalty could be accessible, could care. "Do you regret it?" Quaim asked her one evening as they watched the sunset from the palace garden. "Everything you went through, the scandal, the stress, the threat to our position." "Not for a second. My father can rest in peace now. Justice was served, and we're stronger for it." "We almost lost everything." "No, we would have lost everything if we'd kept silent. We would have lost ourselves. Instead, we gained something more valuable than any throne: integrity." She was pregnant now, carrying the next heir to the throne. A child who would be born into a reformed kingdom, one built on truth and justice rather than secrets and corruption. "What will we tell our child?" Quaim asked, placing a hand on her belly. "About how we met, about everything that happened." "We'll tell them the truth. That sometimes doing the right thing is terrifying. That love means choosing each other even when it's hard. That power is worthless if you use it to hide from justice. And that their mother was once a poor girl from the slums who learned that courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being afraid and doing what's right anyway. Quaim kissed her forehead. Best queen this kingdom has ever had. Best king this kingdom has ever had. Years later, their daughter would ask Maya about the secret that almost destroyed everything. And Maya would tell her about the locked drawer, the evidence, the choice between revenge and justice, between protecting herself and honoring her father. What made you decide to tell the truth? Their daughter would ask. I realized that secrets, even ones kept for good reasons, become prisons. They trap you. The only way to be truly free was to bring everything into the light. Yes, it was scary. Yes, it caused problems. But in the end, truth always wins. It might not win quickly. It might not win easily. But it wins. If this story moved you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Because this story teaches us that sometimes the bravest thing we can do is choose truth over comfort. That real love supports you in doing what's right even when it's hard. That justice delayed is better than justice denied. And that sometimes the poor girl from the slums becomes queen not by hiding who she is, but by being brave enough to reveal everything, including the secrets that could cost her everything she's gained. Subscribe to Reality Folktales for more powerful stories about courage, truth, and the choices that define who we become. And remember, your past doesn't disqualify you from your future. Your secrets don't have to control you. The truth, even when it's painful, is always worth fighting for.